feel like every time we come here, I go into this huge race to share thing. If you land in here on this planet, blow the smoke, it's no motherfucking joke. It's the Honeycomb Hideout.
Hi.
Every Wednesday, it's going to be hump day right here on the Honeycomb Hideout. It looks like we're missing something.
We are. Do we have everything?
Why I didn't bring
my here.
Hold on, I don't got my hat. Is that it?
I don't know.
I'm missing my hat.
Do you have your notebook?
Nah, that's all right.
Do you
I
have
got
your
the
notes.
notebook.
I got my hat.
Yeah, I'm glad you have your hat. We have.
Oh shit, JP's not here.
Oh man,
oh
JP's not here.
That's right.
How could I miss a whole human being?
Where are you?
I know he's not here. So he's at a rock and roll show. Everybody share the feed now. No, it really helps us. If you guys share the feed, it will help us spread the word about this live cast. Hopefully help us grow. That's like one of the most powerful things you can do to help us grow the feed. But this is our live feed. This is our live cast every Wednesday. We have been calling it the Honeycomb Hideout. And it's really cool because we got these little worker bee guys up here.
They're so adorable.
Eventually, I think we're going to paint the walls like yellow.
Honeycomb?
Yeah, like bee colors. It'll be nice.
Ooh, kind of like the honeycomb? Like the honeycomb, like the microphone honeycomb?
Sure. This is Lexi. Lexi works here. We're a hard rock and heavy metal band out of New England. Lexi is our celebrity merch girl. She's the only celebrity merch girl in the world.
Hi.
Yeah, so she's here. She's representing our retail department and social media department. This is a conversation show about everything that is right and wrong with rock and roll in the music business. Yeah. And it's also a live cast about my bass player, Johnny Impact.
Boop,
What's up, guys?
I know I'm supposed to do the thing. Johnny fucking Impact.
Boop, boop.
Man, it's really weird without Pam. It's quiet.
That's because you guys are quiet.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
So we're here every Wednesday by popular demand. This is an opinion-based conversational live cast, really about us. The band Sepsiss is really not about other bands. That would be strange. But there's no fine print here. There's no small words or extra additives. This is an opinion-based and conversational-based program about music. Our experiences, kind of what we went through, what we're going through now, what we're up to. And it is, I would say that it is comparable to Melissa's live stream every Sunday called Swarm TV. And it's on this page, too. This is multicast to YouTube and Twitch. Yeah. So I'll catch up with these guys. What's up with y'all? What y'all been doing this week?
I have been practicing my screams.
Oh, the
my
heavy metal screams. Everybody loves that online.
Chords.
Are you going to put up some more videos of you doing like demonstrations or?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing a couple to the Sepsiss song.
Well, we have so we don't have
just
any
the screams though, like just like the scream parts, like not like
we don't have any more live musical performances. Well, we don't have any live in-person music performances for 2022. That's it. We were done. But we do have here on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, only on Facebook, December 10th, we're doing
at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. But we're doing a live stream and a live musical performance. I think we're doing 15 songs, Johnny. You ready for that?
What?
Yeah, buddy.
15
I've been
songs?
getting ready for that all week.
We're going to do 15 Sepsiss songs. We have to do original songs. We were going to do covers, but then we figured out that the fucking SWAT team would show up.
Does that mean you're doing the whole Almost 11 album?
We are going to do all of Almost 11. And if Gibby's out there, we're also going to do. Look at you. No, we're also going to do. So here's the thing. December 10th, we are doing our final musical performance of the year right here on Facebook. Only on Facebook. And we are doing 15 original songs. And that means doing songs that we're terrible at. Won't that be fun? Look at John. He looks really excited.
In front of the entire world, Johnny. Are you excited?
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it should be fun.
I'm really excited for this, actually.
So, when we play, because we're a little band, when we play out, it's not like we're, fucking Stripe or something. Like, who we talking about earlier? Five Finger Death Punch or somebody?
Somebody.
One of those guys. If we were one of those guys, then we might have an hour set. We don't have hour sets. We're just a little band from New Hampshire. We wind up having like 30 minutes. People don't understand all the shit that we do just to play, 30 minutes of music.
There is a lot that y'all have to do in order to be on.
I'm going to have to drive 1,000 miles just to pay 30 minutes.
And there's a lot of sharing space, too, with other bands.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is if we were one of the other guys, we'd have more time to perform.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't usually do 15 songs. I have a philosophy that people don't want to hear 80% of nothing. So, you know what I mean? Like, honestly. So if you got, I believe in quick sets. You know that. Yeah. So bands, I know bands do it. They're guilty of it. You know one thing that Sepsiss is never guilty of?
What?
Playing longer than we should.
Yeah.
If you're a promoter and you're watching me right now, write this shit down. Any promoter that plans on booking us in 2023, if you book Sepsiss for 40 minutes, we're playing 30. If you book us for 25 minutes, we're playing 20. If you book Sepsiss to play 5 songs, motherfucker, I'm playing 3. And you better beg for that encore. Because in today's world of pointing and scrolling and popping and tweeting and rubbing it back and rubbing it down, oh no. I personally don't think people want to hear 80% of anything. If anything that streaming providers have taught us is that people only listen to under 20 artists a week.
And if not, it's quick. It's from one thing on to the next. So it's.
I know. Do you guys remember the first version of this? It was cable TV, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you remember, your mom and dad sitting with the controller?
Yeah. When
you were a little kid, and they'd have 2 or 3 things on a controller. You know what I mean? Like, they'd have to be watching, like, Family Guy over here. Yep. And there would be, like, Married with Children. And there would be whatever Sharks on History or whatever they're going on, right? Mm-hmm. And as soon as the commercial hit, what would they do? They start flicking off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they scroll.
Change channel. Yeah.
It was the original scroll.
My dad did.
You just never really thought about it that way, but that was the original. People didn't want to hear that shit. They just swiped it. It's like fucking Tinder.
Yeah,
was there also a button where you could save?
Yeah, shut the fuck up button and all that. I don't want to hear this shit.
Flip right to it.
Commercials come on, you hit the button. I don't want to give a shit.
The TV God was a timeline.
Soon as your independent rock and roll band comes on, mute. Look at Lexi.
You guys
I
gotta laugh at this
think of it like that.
Well, I'm thinking about it like that.
Wow.
I had the old click ones.
What do you mean? It was mechanical?
Yeah, so
it was a dial.
Yeah, it was that
mechanical.
One.
Okay,
it was like a huge piece of furniture. It was.
Yeah, it's like an amplifier.
Yeah, those things were heavy.
Was the screen big too, or was it just a big machine?
It was a piece of furniture. It was big. It was probably about that big.
You know what they've proven over time? The big screens are for idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Your eye, the way. I mean, just you as a creature, your depth and your perception and what you can dial in on focally is very small. Everybody at home, put your thumb out like this. Want to test something? Check it out. Doesn't matter if you have, glasses or not. Now stare at the center of your thumb and focus on the center of your thumbnail. And you'll notice that the rest of the room starts to get really blurry, and you can't really make out anything definably around maybe, I'd say maybe a foot from your palm, or maybe half a foot from your palm or the top. You're not, because if you really stare at the center, Lex is getting tired. If you stare at the center of your thumb, you'll notice that the rest of the room is actually quite blurry.
Yeah.
You know it is there, but at this point, it's more so your mind that has filled up the gaps for what the fuck is around you.
It's making its own illusion.
So it's just proving over time. You know, you can make a TV as big as your fucking head, but I mean, when you focus in on somebody's lips, you're not going to be able to see the corners of the TV. So making a TV as big as the wall is only as good as how far you can sit back.
And see it.
That's why cell phones are so popular, you know, because we don't need, you know, we don't really need them to be any bigger.
I'm starting to not like holding a cell phone.
That's because it's your generation gap. You've held a cell phone your whole life. You're either going to be muscular or tired.
Well, I know a body part that's very tired.
What's up?
Quite painful.
Careful it out on this channel. What's wrong with your wing?
I have tendonitis, and I'm sure it's from holding and operating a cell
Is
phone.
that the wind?
Yeah.
Yes, it's severely raining right now at this moment in time.
This is live.
Is that why it's so cold?
If I was
in
to
here?
open this right now, the building might blow down. I don't know if you guys can hear that outside.
Should we
it's going to
shelter
be a long
in place?
winter. Huh?
Should we shelter in place?
You might not want to say that on this channel. They might take that serious. I'm just kidding, Lex. She's like, oh no.
My heart sank to like my stomach.
So here's a funny thing though. I was gonna talk about what I was doing when I was in John's bathroom earlier and what I thought happened, but I'll let him explain that. No.
You finally got a glimpse of what it's like
to be you?
Yeah.
So John lives in small spaces, but I know what that's like. I'm not gonna lie
it's
to
not the small spaces.
What? What is it?
It's just everything.
It's the fact that you keep your dishes in the bathroom.
Well, not even that. Just everything randomly falls down. I don't even know how. I'm not even touching it. It could be this later, and it will fly off somewhere, and I don't even know.
So I was in the bathroom taking a leak, and when you go into John's bathroom, he's got like you know, dishware and silverware and shit like that on the
Oh my god.
He has it like I mean it's organized. I guess if you could have it, but it's like
What?
he's got it on a shelf in the bathroom. You know, so there's and it's not your regular. It's not like fine china. This is like it's like prison Tupperware shit. You know what I'm saying?
You can throw it around. It'll be all right.
He thought it was some kind of a ghost in there knocking everything down. So I'm in there and I wasn't making any type of contact with this shit. But all of his dishware jumped off the shelf.
What?
By itself and landed on the floor where everybody was real nervous about it as if it was some sort of a paranormal experience. But I assure you, it was only the bacteria in his prison bowl.
Oh my god. Johnny.
It moves quick.
Are you sure it wasn't the mouse that JP found in here last week?
JP didn't see a mouse in here.
Nah.
Oh.
The
JP thought he saw a mouse in here.
There's no wires chewed up or anything like that. How could there be a mouse?
Well,
There's there's not enough food in this motherfucker
Nothing
for there to
doesn't-
be
No,
any
it's
mice in
not.
here.
nothing doesn't just fall down.
Think about it. In order for there to be mice or any type of animals that want to live with Johnny, he would need something to offer.
That and you have to be part crazy.
Oh shit! I couldn't even say it with a straight face. I appreciate that. So what is this whole thing? We got to launch into this because I don't know what we're doing anymore. But we got but we do have this whole thing. You said something earlier about there being some sort of evidence that animals, bats,
Yes.
are using the same technology as heavy metal screamers?
Yes. So
Let me hear it.
when bats vocalize, one, they have 7 octaves that they use, and they have high octaves that they use for when they're locating something. They use echolocation.
Sonar.
Yeah. So they use sound to like locate things. And they also use sound to talk. And when they talk, they make a growl, a low growl. And that is
Ooh.
similar, and if not the same as when a death metal person, when they scream and they growl. So they use the same folds.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So when bats
Only you would know that.
Yeah, so like how we're
Who knew that?
communicating right now,
Yeah.
bats would be communicating in a low death metal growl to each other.
That's crazy.
I don't know if I feel more like a human or a bat when I think it out. I've been kind of trying to I've been going around subtly and teaching all of my friends how to grunt and growl. It's kind of an adventure of mine.
It's a lot of fun.
No, it is.
Interesting.
And then of course we have this whole bit. I guess if you're a big heavy metal fan, this is a hot topic for you. For you guys, do you guys believe in the Big Four? Is that a thing for you? Is that or am I
Music industry Big Four or bands Big Four?
Well, see, I'm older than you, and old motherfuckers like me have this term in rock and roll and heavy metal called the Big Four. Does anybody know in the chat who the Big Four are?
Metal bands?
Drop in the chat right now. Who is the Big Four?
Okay, so are you familiar with
I'm
what the
familiar
Big
with
Four?
the Big
Tell her
Four.
tell her what it is.
The Big Four was, or is, I should say,
Right.
Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax.
Right. Now, as you know, what?
What made them call it the Big Four?
Oh man, you're getting into some shit right now. I don't know. I'll probably wake up every gatekeeper in the motherfucking world. I don't know why.
I want to learn. That's why I'm asking. Please don't come for us in the comments.
I think it was I think most people at one point it was kind of traditional that folks agreed on that. I think it was like the headlining.
They were like the first of its kind too, like thrashy,
Yeah.
like
So there's a little
really
bit of
being
a
like
there's
in
a
your
little bit
face
of a
type metal type thing.
there's a
like,
little bit of a tipping of the hat there.
Yeah.
I think what it really comes down to is like the 4 metal bands to reach a particular, fanaticism, so
Bar.
and then so if you don't if I could be wrong about this, I'm not sure why they don't include classic metal bands like I've thought about this before when in terms of people using the Big Four, but
the Big Four was never really a thing for me personally. I've never seen.
well,
them.
nothing's a thing for anybody personally.
Yeah.
Personally, no one gives a shit.
That's kind of what I'm going
Right.
with. It's
Well, I
kind
mean,
of
now
like-
modern day era, if you ask people who the Big Four is, it's like asking the people in hip hop who your top 5 is. But if you move to the left a little bit, that changes. We have never been alive this long on planet Earth. The generations of people that exist right now have not been alive this long together. Pay attention. There has not been this many generations alive that are all experiencing hip-hop all at one time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Years and years and years and years ago, there wasn't as many generations as there were experiencing this kind of music. So when you think of heavy metal, you think of heavy metal in the 70s and 80s. You're thinking you're looking down a very
narrow pipeline.
limited. Right, people have come, people have gone, people have been excited. There's a lot of people. When me and Melissa, started Sepsiss, we were looking at flyers today. And we were looking back at all the flyers of all the New England bands. And we had pulled them out, and Lexi was looking at all the bands. And she was like pointing at bands on the flyer, like, oh, they look cool. Are they around anymore? And I was like, And she's like, what about them? That's a cool name. I was like, are they around anymore? And I was like, nah, they're not around. And we were just going through the Sepsiss timeline and looking at old flyers. And Lexi was just like, wow, flyer art has changed. And we were just looking at the evolution of being online and being an online band. Everybody knows us as an online band. We don't have any fucking gas money. So like most people that have ever even heard of us at all have heard of us online. So it wasn't hard to go back and see like every, a handful of flyers and stuff throughout the years, We've been able to document our entire band's lifeline online because we came out of that MySpace era. Like there's people in bands that are our peer groups that are just now kind of catching up to what we've been doing online for years and years and years and years and years and years. Like, oh guys, how you guys doing that? It's like, oh, we've been online for years. But guys have been driving around the country, buying expensive gear and doing big buy-ons, and you see, they're coming back. They only have a couple thousand followers.
Burning everything for nothing.
We see, people play in front of 30,000 people, and they come home and don't get any more followers for it. It's not pushing your streams. It's not. Hell, man, streams don't even matter. You know what I mean? But needless to say, that's the story. So when one of my favorite bands growing up, I'm gonna say it's pretty cliche in terms of the big four. They're not included. Was Pantera. Oh is right, especially being a black guy. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of people that hung out with me while I listened to Pantera. It was tough.
Why didn't they include them? I was expecting to
because
hear
there can only be four.
Yeah.
There can only be four. So I was, and I also like growing up, I was a rebel. So it was always like this or that, just like it is now on the internet. Sticks or branches, Republicans or Democrats, this or that, yin or yang, man versus woman, good versus evil. It was Red Sox and Yankees. It was the same stuff. The internet really accelerates that and really magnifies that behavior and that posture. But back then it was like Dio or Ozzy. Everybody in the chat, Dio or Ozzy? Dio or Ozzy?
The big four came from the press saying that these are the four bands that brung thrash to the mainstream.
Oh, see, I wanted to be very careful
there. So they're the ones that made thrash a part of.
According to the press, not according
to the press.
According to the press, those four bands brung thrash through the mainstream.
Oh.
Right. According to the press, Johnny Impact has paranormal bacteria prison bowls
that fly at you like bats.
I love how you're co-signing that.
So yeah, that was helpful because I guess I really didn't know the full definition. You read it off these wacky meme sites and stuff like that. That's where most of us get our, rock and roll and hip hop pollution.
It's the news, man.
I suppose it's somebody's news. But to be a rebel, I chose branches versus sticks, and I was always like the Megadeth guy. But secretly, this is the truth. Like the first rock bands that I was ever exposed to the first albums I ever listened to. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because this is interesting. Like, I
You'll
really
never
want
guess.
to know.
I'm gonna lie now.
I'm going to say, like, I'm
gonna lie in front of everybody.
Yo, he was low-key a Metallica fan.
So I wasn't a Metallica. Let me be real. No. I want to be fucking accurate. I don't want to be fair. I want to be accurate. The thing is I loved the Black Album, and everybody fucking hated it. So when I was I was exposed to Metallica early on, but I grew up on urban music, reggae, rap, pop music. I was cut from a different cloth. Now, don't get it twisted. I come from a big African American family, and it wasn't too many light skinned people in my family. But I went to school, on a particular side of town, and where I went to school, everybody listened to hard rock and metal. So I had the best of both worlds, and I lived in a really cool, diverse community, a very musical community. So I go into school and I bring in the cool urban shit, you know, and then the other kids would say, hey, man, you got to check out. And they would give me all the good stuff. That's why, you know, I found Metal Church, and I found Priest, and I found, like, all
God
these
bless those kids.
No, and that's where I
Wow.
developed, right, but I go home. This is a true story about me. This is a true
This
story
is like
about
the
me.
founding of Sepsiss. Like, this is a chapter that
I've
don't
never told
know.
anybody
Nah,
this.
this
This
is awesome.
This is some juicy
I've really never
secrets,
told
y'all.
anybody this. But, so, you know, I grew up in a large African-American home. There was I didn't have a lot of rules in my home. My mom was an awesome mom. It was an interracial family, and it was encouraged. We had a piano in the house. It was encouraged to like all types of music and varieties and versions of people. So the story itself might not go on the predictable path that you guys are all assuming. No, it was, you know, look at me. If anything I was encouraged to do in life, it was make music. You know, I made a lot of mistakes, but, you know, and I probably make even more in music, but, you know, in music, it ain't going to land you in prison. So, like, I was encouraged to make as much noise, you know, intelligently as I possibly could, and I use that word, you know, with a grain of salt. But, yeah, we was encouraged to explore, digest, and absorb as much culture and music as I possibly could. My mom was really big on that. And, you know, downtown they had street performers, magicians, theater. It was just that kind of town, man.
That's awesome.
Big blues festival. You know, it's the
You
truth.
don't get that anymore, though. Like in any small town or anything like that, they really don't.
It's
Kind of getting
hard.
scarce.
It's hard. It's hard, you know, with the internet and there's so much attraction to comfort and luxury and people not wanting to go outside. And we could talk about that at some point. Yeah, so I go home and secretly, you know, we had a lot of hip hop and reggae and R&B albums, and I would go into my uncle's rooms and steal their vinyl and flick through their cassettes and all that stuff, and I get my ass kicked and I get yelled at, and they would catch me to all type of stuff. You know, back then, I mean, now children have access to a huge library of adult material.
Yeah.
That was not appropriate.
That wasn't supposed to be a part
You
of the
know,
plan.
do you see what I'm saying? I mean, now there's a platform, the internet, that adults made that has a lot of harmful things to children that is available to them. Back in my time, adults didn't manufacture products so openly and advertise them to minors. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially stuff of adult nature. I mean, kids now can play video games with, you know, adult activity into it. That's something that that's something that wasn't really permitted in at least my neck of the woods.
Same growing
didn't
up.
do that. We didn't do
even
that.
when games were first coming around.
Children,
like,
you know what I'm saying? Well, the brain doesn't stop developing to the age of 30, so it's like more of a science project at that point, less of a matter of opinion. So you want a child to develop like a child in most situations. But now with the internet, children have this huge sandbox that they can play in. They used to be adults only, so that's really changed the way that we absorb and discover information, and our brains grow with what we think we know. What you gonna say? Because it looks like you're gonna say something.
It's like they desensitize the adult material for the children. It's like it's no longer like
I don't
sensitive.
know. I just think there's less people watching, man. You can't. I mean, people are working so much, and people the hustle and bustle and the pressures and the finances of everyday life. It's just easier. I mean, my son's in his 20s. I love turning on the Xbox and going in the other room. I'll admit it. What parent didn't do that? You know what I mean? In the 2000s, you know, if you're a parent, and you had, you know what I'm saying, you had a child in 98, 99, 2000, 2002, 3, 4.
Well, even so,
it was we didn't know the full effects of giving kids an iPad for a few hours a day. Yeah. I'm saying that as a parent, I didn't know.
But on a small scale too.
Thank God my kid didn't.
Did it the generation prior with the TV when that first came around. That was at the end of the day.
I can remember having Scribble Vision on HBO and knowing I was doing something wrong. You guys probably don't even know what that is.
They don't know what
I
that
was just
is.
about to ask you.
So back
what
then,
that is.
I mean, you didn't have the World Wide Web. You didn't just have access to an unlimited amount of pussy and guns. It was there was a limited amount of pussy and guns. That's all, and you had to work to get it. Even music, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even music, like you got to be 16 years old to drive a car. You got to be a certain age to have adult material. That makes sense?
Yeah.
At a certain age to go to the military because your fucking brain ain't developed yet. You show a child an adult magazine, you might fuck them up. Well, that's what's on the internet. Killing and slaughtering and shooting motherfuckers. Most popular stuff on the internet is all negative shit. So I mean, this is how we learn it and go to school. I'm just saying, this is a whole nother situation for a whole nother topic. You're gonna make me go crazy parenting this motherfucker. I can remember what it was like trying to get into Strawberries, into Sam Goody. When we were young, we had Slayer and NWA tapes. Parents were setting them on fire, rolling them over. It was crazy. Uncle Luke, remember that band from the USA? It was true. Hey, thank you, Stacy.
HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, #, Scribble Vision. That's from JD.
That's right. So let me just tell Lexi because she doesn't know what it is. So they used to, it's a frequency that the station has a frequency, and you have to tune the TV like a guitar string into the frequency to receive the information. Like Bluetooth is a frequency. FM radio is a frequency.
So it's almost like you're using an amplifier and almost.
There's absolutely amplifiers involved, but there is nonetheless a wave and a set of information and frequencies that are riding through an electric conduit to give images, sounds, and the whole bit. Cable TV, fiber optics. Prior to it being like that, it used to be by antenna, airwaves, FM radio. This goes on. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I promise you this really was the planet at one point.
No, I believe
ride
you.
that right wave.
I know. Everybody probably thinks it's crazy. But things are still the same now. Bluetooth isn't much different than FM radio in that sense.
Not at all.
Ones and zeros, you know what I mean? And now whether you're talking about hyper defined or magnified or what type of definition or quality or values that is, or how many times you can cut a zero, I don't know. But so back then you have to move the antenna in a certain way you try to get a better frequency. So now it's more like fiber optics and cable was more of a mainline version of that. So they used to have premium services on cable TV, like HBO or pay-per-view or whatever have you, and you have to call on the phone, and you give them a code to your cable box, because the cable would come through the wall like the internet does now.
Yo, that's crazy. I remember that.
And it would go into your cable box, and your cable provider, was like AT&T or Sprint. You had a cable provider. Most of these cable providers now didn't go anywhere. They are now internet providers, by the way.
Roadrunner.
They didn't go anywhere. Comcast is still Comcast. So, same cable goes into your house. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is they used to encrypt special channels, like adult kissy channels. Where grown folks do stuff. And if you were smart, like me, if you were perverted, like me as a little boy, you could play with your TV when your mom went to sleep, and you can unscramble the Scribble Vision and watch stuff that you're not supposed to. We were like modern day hackers, baby. This was like,
That's some pretty skilled thing to do.
Yeah. They had hacks back then. We had hacks. Even though I'm old, we had hacks. We had like payphone hacks and like different ways to like get free calls and eat pizza and shit like that.
What?
Yeah, because I mean, there was
That's
no
so cool.
the ledgers were different back then. You know,
Why did they
not
ever get
everything
rid
was
of the payphone? That's so cool.
a payphone.
Yeah, the payphone. That's so
Do you want to know why they got rid of the
Genius.
payphone?
it's genius.
Space.
Everyone
There's not
has an
enough space.
iPhone.
Right.
Why would anyone use a dusty old payphone that a million people use when you have your own personal iPhone?
Think of what they do now with
Or
payphones
phone,
with
I
all
should
the
say.
right. Honestly, you see what's happening in China. You want them to start spraying everything down in this motherfucker. Listen. So the the bottom line is in my time. I say my time like it's separate than yours, but in this time, we have never had this many generations alive that could enjoy Metallica. We've never had this many people alive that could learn about Eminem. This is the most people all at one time that something like Metallica could be relevant to human beings. He certainly couldn't been relevant back in the time of fucking Confucius or King Ramses. That wouldn't make sense now, would it? But think about it. Who was the most streamed rock and roll artist of all time last year?
Metallica.
Correct. They're the biggest band in the entire planet. Currently. You know what I'm saying? You can make you can make an argument about Beatles and Kiss and everybody else, but I'm saying currently, as far
Numbers
as
don't lie.
in terms, numbers do lie.
Well,
Numbers do lie. And I'm going to tell you why numbers lie. Because a number is just a symbol. What's behind the symbol is what gives the number its value.
yeah.
Okay? I can say this is the number 4 and this symbol represents 4. Do you agree with me?
Well,
Do you agree with me?
no.
Right, and that's why it goes down in value.
Yes.
It's not. So you could say this is 4, but in order for
what
it to
really-
have value, we all have to agree on
Yeah.
that. You
What
understand
really
I'm saying?
represents 4? Like,
It's word association. I dig it. So to be completely accurate with you, Johnny, my first, I was afraid to like rock and roll, and I was afraid to like heavy metal when I was a kid, because not that it would have been looked down upon, but I thought that it would have. I was trying to fit in. I was trying to be a part of groups where I thought, rock and roll music and what I liked about heavy metal wouldn't fit in, comfortably with those groups. So I chose to ignore my interests for years. Isn't that sad? But we got to go through this stuff, though, to grow.
Wow.
I know it's powerful, but we've had situations like we've talked about this before, how like, your dad was a big rock and roll fan, and how that came in and out of your life, and like joining the band, you were able to rediscover it, and how that was like a bloomed a whole new level of interest. And this is the same sort of thing. So I was a DJ, and I worked with rappers. I was the only, of course, then equipment was big and it was expensive, and you had to lug it around. It was heavy. You know what I mean? So at this particular time in my life as a young person, I was the only individual of my kind in my neighborhood doing what I was doing, recording and composing urban music, and and creating a movement like that. So I just didn't feel that these interests would have been consistent with my goals at that point in life and the type of crowds I was trying to fit into, amongst other interests and skill sets I was honing. I never, ever was the type of person that wouldn't have been comfortable to admit of liking all types of different music. So I want to make that clear. But there came a time, and I had a keyboard and I had turntables, and there came a time when, for me, playing urban music, I wasn't learning anything new. I didn't feel that I was getting any closer to being a cognitive musician. There was a lot of guesswork in my music. There was a lot of passion, a lot of feeling, people liked me. I was a popular young person, but I was also a big fish in a small pond. So you're constantly asking yourself, am what I'm doing is really good, or am I just the only person doing it?
For real.
Did you hit like a plateau or something with learning it?
See what she just said? That's exactly what happened to me. I could only play music in certain scales on the piano. I could only play certain chords. I could only, you know what I mean? I was just so limited to what I understood panoramically as far as what the options were sonically for me. You know what I mean? And it was like this. And so, I had these people saying I was, I was such a talented guy, but deep down it was like painful for me to hear because I felt like I was tricking everybody. Does that make sense? I felt like I had a secret. I felt like all these people were praising me, saying that I was good at something, and that like deep down I didn't feel good at the shit. So I was like kind of like I had low self-esteem about it, in my opinion. Looking back, I didn't want, looking back, I didn't want people to know that, I didn't know music theory. I said, man, what happens if somebody stops me in the middle of the street and says, prove it? And that's why, with Sepsiss music, we don't use a lot of, we try to write music that we can perform on stage.
Of course.
And a lot of people say, man, Sepsiss, thank God, you guys sound a lot like you do in your records. And I don't think that our records or our music is, exceptionally better than anybody else. But I will say that we've done a fair amount of work on trying to keep the music integral and performable. So like when we write music, Lexi, we try to write music that we can perform well. There's far too many bands up there that are super talented and can't move, and they're fucking stuck. You know what I mean? Like and it doesn't sound like the record. Doesn't sound like the record, and you look crazy up there, and it's not a show. That's not what our goals were. So it wasn't a great fit.
So when you were writing music, because you used to not know much about music theory.
Yeah.
So when you were afraid to get approached, you were afraid that you couldn't improve it. So now when you're doing the music now, you want to make sure that you can prove that you can.
That's right. I want to make sure that it's not that I can just perform my music or act my music or role play my music or come online and role play some actor or role play some type of musician. You see a lot of musicians do it, male and female. They hide behind another person's voice. They hide behind all type of body parts. They're blowing off whole pieces of their fucking bodies and replacing pieces of their bodies, and that's fine for them bands. But one of our goals here was to try to carry on a torch of a human tradition in rock and roll that I think that heavy metal and hard rock has been missing, and that's the ability to prove it. I think in hard rock and heavy metal, it's really become WWE. It's really become
watered down.
Do you think that the bands out there that possibly don't do it as real as Sepsiss do you think that they have stress on if they can prove it or not?
I think people genuinely do what they think is going to get them attention without being able to admit it.
Yeah. I mean,
in today's world, I feel like a lot of people, and the only this is the feedback and the direct commentary that I get from people. They're far more concerned in their numbers and what they're appearing to be rather than what they're actually doing.
Yeah, I mean, look.
But this is only in. I want to say specifically that this is in direct reference and commentary to people that I deal with all the time. And when I ask my friends, "Do you care about performing with backtracks?" they say, "No, turn them up." And I can't hate on that. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. So I don't even see that as a blemish. I see that as a career path. When if I say we don't do backtracks on stage, that's not to say that bands that have backtracks on stage are less talented. That's just to say that we offer butter on our popcorn. That's it.
It's just a different.
It's just a different product. You know what I mean? It's we're doing. We're kind of comparing sticks and branches and that because in the long run, the fans that Sepsiss is responsible for finding are going to gravitate and resonate towards us. You know what I mean? And fans, you know, if you're somebody that is in, you know, an equal or comparative or competitive band to Sepsiss, I think even like if you're a fan of Enemy Inside, or if you're a fan of, you know, fans of Roses Unread, I love Roses Unread, and we love those fans. You know what I mean? A lot of bands that we share fans with, those bands don't want to. Those fans don't want to convert to Sepsiss, and that's what's wrong with bands. I think sometimes as bands go, "Oh my God, I don't want anybody to be friends or fan of Sepsiss because they're not gonna be my fan anymore." I don't think that's true. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of stress to have on.
It's a lot of pressure. I don't. Yeah. I no. This is what I will say. This is what I will say. Sepsiss encourages all of our fans to go listen and like as much if possible, as many if possible, more today. I would encourage all of our fans of Sepsiss to please go find competitive and comparable bands to Sepsiss.
I mean,
that's what I would say to that.
We're in the business of making friends, not enemies. So
I'm also in the business of comparing and competition. So please, I want you to go and love those products and compare them to mine too. That
play
is
the
good.
Spotify game.
What is wrong with? There's nothing wrong with people that like baseball, people that love female-fronted bands, people that love gangster rap. You love gangster rap. That's what you like. If you like horror movies. You don't hear people go, you know, if you don't love Jason, you can't love Freddy. This is crazy.
Nate Dowcast from Facebook says, our old drummer said I was using backing tracks as a security blanket. LOL.
Security track. Okay. No, all right. I mean, I mean, we've done to talk about backtracks before and stuff. You know, you guys know how I feel about it. And this is the only thing I will say about it before we move on, is that there's so many bands out there that use backtracks that I already like, and if they took the backtracks off, now I've seen them on stage. Bands that I love use backtracks. So if they were to take those backtracks off the stage, it'd be like if I took Johnny off the stage. You're gonna miss him. Think about this second. Let me help you out. Sepsiss has 6 members, right?
Yeah.
Good Bars plays keyboards.
Yeah.
If I took him out of the band, you'd felt like it was missing something.
A big part.
So hold on. So if you're a band and backtracks have been part of your gig, I don't want you to take them out. Why the fuck would you do that? That's part of your gig. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't do something and then be ashamed of it. Then you're being a fucking nerd. Let's move on. Do what you're going to do because you love doing it and you can stand behind it. If you're going to do it because you love it, your fans love it, and people support you. Don't do something or not do something because of Sepsiss or Captain fucking Crunch told you so. How about that? All right. Oh, so the first bands that I discovered, I can't say discovered, but the first bands that I discovered and publicly played, like in the car or like with girlfriends, and I cannot stand this band. I don't like this band. I don't want to listen to the fucking band. You could give me free tickets. I won't go. I have no problem with the band. The band is none other than Korn. Look, nobody fucking saw it coming.
I did.
Wow.
I didn't see
My
that.
question is, if you didn't like them, why did
Wow.
you listen to them publicly if you didn't like them?
Why
You
are
have-
you all wowing right now?
Why
Come on.
did you
Well, you
listen
have-
to music that
you
you
have to
didn't
you
like?
have to listen to something to even
kind
see.
of-
You have
Hold
to
on,
taste.
let this
You
man
have,
talk.
you have to taste food to see if you like it. If I say I don't like sushi, I'm like, oh, and I didn't even taste it yet. I didn't even try it. I see it being created. What if it's the best thing I've ever had in the world? And I try sushi and it's
That's
great.
what I'm trying to say. We live in a time now where everybody does one thing once. You didn't know it'd shoot your fucking load the first time you did it. But everybody kept trying until they got it right. So why when it comes to shooting your fucking load and learning about your culture or learning about something new, what's the difference here, caveman? I'm an intellectual, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a musician and as a everybody loves to say popular and everybody wants to make it popular to be a connoisseur of music. Everybody wants to be a good judge of fucking character. I know it's popular. Everybody online wants to believe that.
Not
that they're
so
a DJ dummy.
Not so much the popularity aspect, just
why? Because popularity isn't important to anybody. Right? We're the only band online that admits that we're online for popularity. Name one band that you've ever fucking met in rock and roll that is willing to admit that they even want fans. We're the only rock and roll band. We are the only rock and roll band in New England that I have ever heard publicly say, we want fans and we want attention. All the other motherfuckers ain't got the fucking yellow belly guts to admit it publicly. I've been in the New England metal game for 12 years, and I've never seen one fucking band ever admit that they want to make music for attention. They'll tell you money, cars, but they're going to buy their mom a fucking Dutch Victorian. You ain't never seen nobody look you in the fucking face and say, I'm on the internet for attention. Because you motherfuckers ain't got the guts. And that's why I know the difference of why I'm here. You ain't going to see no cat pictures. You don't see no politician pictures. You don't never hear me talk about boys, girls, what people like to put in their mouths, what they don't. There's only one reason Sepsiss and our staff member are on the fucking internet, and that's for attention. And I can always count on my competitors to lie about it. That's why I know I'm ahead. Suckers. So if you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, that's your fucking fault. If you can't look me in the face and say, if you ask most wannabe rock stars, what do you want to be? Say it. Say it. What do you want to be? They won't even tell you. I want to be. Say it. I want to be. You want to be independent? No. No. You want to be self-employed? No, you want to be accepted by a bunch of motherfuckers you ain't never met before. You want to be represented by a bunch of fucking products and a bunch of complete strangers that want nothing to do to you. You want to be represented and verified and authenticated by people, places, and products that want nothing to fucking do with you. The desire for working independent musicians is to be worshipped by other bands' fans, not build their own. Bands wish to hit the lottery. They want to pull that lever down. They want to go to some fucking festival. They want to get some buy-in. They want to put a quarter in the machine. They want to go viral on a TikTok. Woof! And hit that lever and pop up in the morning and Rick Rubin's going to be at your fucking door ready to fucking produce your album. That's what they want. They want to jump on a flyer with bands that have never fucking heard of them. I have no desire to be involved or to be on a flyer or do business with people that I've never met before. That sounds like a perfect setup for crime.
For real.
I don't live nobody else's dream, motherfucker. That's what they want. Bands want attention. But I can count on bands to never admit it. So if you don't know what you're going to be when you grow up, you ain't ever going to do the fucking work to get there. All right. So, I listened to Korn. I didn't like the music. Like coming out of because like when I started listening to metal and started to be like publicly okay with listening to metal and sharing it with my friends and girlfriends and stuff like that, I had told them I was listening to it because I had hit this plateau. I told them I was defeated. I might quit music forever unless I learn how to play music, because I'm not about to come out here and be somebody saying I know how to play music and get stopped on the street and somebody pull my fucking card. It's not my thing. It's never happened and never will. My name is Will, not won't. If you know me, if you ever met me before, I have an abundance. I'm one of those people you can't hold a carrot in front of me, because I'm in love with what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be moved. I can't be mended. I can't be manipulated. There's no amount of money. There's nothing that anybody could bring me to By Sepsiss music. There's no record label on planet Earth. There's not a festival. That's what bands really seem to miss about what we're doing.
Seems like they miss the value in themselves.
When I started listening to Korn, I didn't look up to them. So the difference between me is like you had these generation of kids that grew up and they had these guys and posters on their wall that they idolize, that they admire, that they want to. This isn't a form of respect. You see, mimicking people is not a form of respect. That's a form of stealing, John.
No, absolutely. There's a cross point between idolizing and fantasizing and wanting.
Well, no, totally. And a lot of that has to do with doing the work and the comprehensive parts of it. And I wanted to. My goal was not to, it was my goal to have, the credit of being a cognitive and accomplished human being, and to add my own value, and to participate in generosity with other people. That's why I'm not I'm not in a solo act or something like that. But I didn't like Korn. I thought it was abrasive. I thought dude couldn't sing.
Really?
Yeah, I never really. I like Jonathan Davis' voice a lot more now.
Okay, I was gonna say that's funny because
It's grown on me.
That's the only thing I like about Korn.
Really?
Is Jonathan Davis'
You know what?
voice.
What I liked about Korn growing up is what I don't like about it now. And even when I look at it now, like I just challenge like a lot of music at that time, and of course my ear has been trained a lot differently. It was just messy to me, clanky, clumsy. That bass rattling around like that. I never really got into it. It was a particular
I was never
sound.
I was never a fan of the Korn sound, but something about Jonathan Davis, when I heard his voice, it was like that guy just knows what he's doing.
Though? There were moments though where like electronic music and hip hop and heavy guitars could come in, and there were like these urban beats that Korn was doing that I thought that worked well. And so to answer your question, the reason why is because Korn was a very good bridge for me to understand where guitars might sit in a mix. It was a good place for me to use my imagination. Lexi.
Is that how nu metal came to be? Was that mix?
I guess, but you got to remember me as
combined?
being like a hip hop connoisseur and trying to learn about metal. I understood, okay. I understood that the metal and new metal didn't satisfy traditional metalheads, and the rap inside new metal didn't satisfy hip hoppers. So I was like, I really had a problem with Korn. Because I felt that it was just unsatisfying to my metal friends and my hip hop friends. So the reason why I was listening to it was to try to understand it. I was challenging myself, man.
One thing about I will say about the new metal genre, when it was coming out, I feel bad for them because they kind of got swept under the rug Like, no one wanted anything to do with
I think
them
it's
when they
bigger
first
now than
came out.
ever.
It is bigger now, but remember when it first came out? No one wanted anything.
Oh, I hated Linkin Park. I hated it.
Everybody
I
hated
I
anything new metal.
fucking hated it. And
From
and,
Linkin Park to
well,
Limp Bizkit,
Lexi,
though.
don't look at me crazy because I liked gangster rap, African American rap music. And you could not. That's what I was like. Oh my god, when I seen these kids like now hold on, I was never a Jay-Z fan, but when they did the Jay-Z Linkin Park mashup, I'll never forget. I was in state prison and I saw him do that shit on MTV, and I was sitting there and it changed my fucking life. Another huge moment for me in rock and roll music was because I don't like Jay-Z and I don't like Linkin Park. And then I'm sitting there watching them on TV and they fucking killed it, dude. And I was like, and I'm sitting there, and I'm in it. I mean, I'm out in the place I was in at that time in my life. I didn't think I was ever gonna even be a human being. So I mean, this shit touched me in a whole new way. I was like, oh my, I had so much respect for these guys that I didn't like, being able to organize this and all this stuff about me not liking everything. You guys got to realize that was me as a young man being jealous and not understanding how these guys were able to achieve this success, and me being in my bag, you know, in my self-esteem, you know, as an addict, you know, as a young man, angry from the streets, in prison, in jails, me trying to grow, and me wanting to be this person and wanting me to be able to, you know, understand these frequencies and these tones, and you know, it was definitely a challenge for me. When I started to accept that I was deep down a metalhead for real. I started, but I really started with Megadeth. And that was because I was too embarrassed to admit that I loved the Black Album so much. But the Black Album was like really what I liked. But you know, at the time in rock and roll and heavy metal, if you liked the Black Album, like you were getting your head kicked in.
I still don't understand why no one liked that album. That's my
Does
favorite
anybody in the
one.
chat? Does anybody not like the Black Album? Tracy says, I think hip hop and metal or rock together is great. I think hip hop and hip hop, rock and metal work better today because of modern day mixing. That's my understanding. You know, I think it's possible today because the human ear has also been retrained, you know, and the human ear has been resettled to hear frequencies, you know, in high def. Does that make sense? Yeah. Think about how we look at movies now in 1080p and, you know,
Complete
50K, no, whatever. I don't know what is it up to now.
complete 360 difference
Right,
on
right.
whatever.
Cross-eyed K. Have you guys seen that yet? It's new now.
What?
You got to cross your eyes, and you get to see into another dimension. So now, yeah,
Okay,
they sell the TVs.
I'm still getting
Except
used
that's
to
fine.
Blu-ray or whatever it is.
Blue Ridge.
Is it Blu-ray? I
What the
thought it was
fuck was it?
Blu-ray.
Someone else in the chat, Tracy, she likes the Black Album as well.
There you go. But see, now people are willing to admit that they like the Black Album now.
Why couldn't they admit that?
Okay.
That's so
Who
crazy
in the
to
chat?
me.
Put a 1 in the chat if you like Metallica album Saint Anger. I got a funny story about that.
Legion of Solace says the Black Album wasn't as accepted because Metallica at the time was known as a thrash band, and the Black Album was such a departure
Groovy.
from the sound that fans knew from them in the 80s.
It was groovy, man. It had some groove to it. Oh, Lexi, if I put on the Black Album for you, you're going to love it.
Wait.
Yeah, we could do this later because right.
I have a question for after, I guess.
Okay,
then.
sure. But
I mean, but that's like everyone saying, what? Who's that one person that everybody hates now? And that's afraid to say they like him, and then and then just wait. Everyone says they hate the guy now. Watch it 20 years later. It's gonna come
do you
around.
guys have artists that? Well, first of all, do you like the Saint Anger album?
It's not really my cup of tea.
Everybody, used to talk shit about the Saint Anger album. Okay? I even said this to Bars before. Like, he was like, what's up with this whole fucking thing? Why does everybody make jokes about this one Metallica album? Well, they make jokes about every Metallica album. I'll get to that in a moment. But there's all these jokes about every Metallica album, and there one being about the Saint Anger album is, first of all, it was on HBO with all them dudes arguing with each other, trying to get off liquor and doing all that. That was embarrassing. And this is before social media. I don't even know if you know about that, but they did Some Kind of Monster. Do you remember that? It was a documentary, and they were all arguing. They were going to break up, and they put it all on TV. I don't know why the fuck they did that. It was awful. It's so depressing to watch. I mean, even if you're not a Metallica fan, you actually start to become one. Or if you were, you're not anymore. Because you're like, you watch this and you're like, oh, God, just stop. It's like all these, like, guys
Angry.
are like family, just like angry. It's just like watching
Saint
Sepsiss
Anger.
and yeah. So, anyways, but there was this music that went along with it and this album that went along with it. And it was supposed to be a reboot of the band. And they were the whole big bit. Really, the Metallica story is, like, bigger than anything at this point. You know, when you think from that to Stranger Things to what I'm about to say after this is fucking nuts. So, you know, this goes from, like, Napster stealing everybody's money to, like, Napster being one of the top paying streaming DSP now known to man. Like, they pay, like, 2 to 3 times more than Spotify. Napster. That just show you. And then, you know, naturally, go figure, Metallica's the most streamed rock and roll band in the world, and rock music beats out pop music and streaming in 2021. What the fuck is going on here? But we all know that numbers don't lie, John. But numbers definitely lie because, well, we all know that they do. So
Right.
Yes, where are you
right,
going?
hold on, let me clean my plate. The snare in Saint Anger. Everybody talked about the snare drum in Saint Anger and how this fucking snare drum was the worst sounding snare drum. I'm sure there's somebody in here that knows about the snare drum.
What?
And if you talk to people that know about, you know, cliche rock and roll arguments, your Ozzy versus Dio versus biting the head off a bat versus any of that stupid shit. People, you know, if you ever want to talk about rock and roll dumb shit, this is one right here that takes the fucking cake, is this fucking snare drum being on this album and everybody hating the snare drum. They said the snare drum ruined the album.
So everyone's saying
I shit you not. The first time I heard that the song Frantic off the album, the first time I ever heard it, I was lifting weights in LRF in the prison, and that song came on. And the first thing I thought to myself, now this is an uneducated metalhead. Remember, I liked metal. I was in my bag. I was learning the guitar. I was taking the steps I needed to. At this point in my life, I had opened my library and opened my heart to hard rock and heavy metal. It's in my mid-20s. Love this fucking shit. And they unleashed this song. And the song Frantic comes on. And I see all the talk about the snare drum and everything. I'm hearing all about it. And the first fucking thing that I noticed when this song come on is like this really unique snare drum thing happening. And I couldn't have told you whether it was right or wrong at that particular time in my life. And this is what's great about not fucking knowing everything. This is what's great about being a discoverer, being somebody that has an open mind. This is what's great about growing up in hip-hop music and becoming a metalhead and joining a metal band in your adult life, is that, to me, the snare was the best fucking part of it. What every metalhead on planet Earth hated about Saint Anger, what they hated about Frantic, dude, when that fucking pong, 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 and to this fucking day, I'm going to play it when we get off there. I'm telling you. And now, if you talk to people about Saint Anger, if you talk to people about Frantic, the entire idea is not the same that it was. The ear has been retrained. What we find acceptable changes, bro. You know what I'm saying? What we think is beautiful from culture to culture, what we think is acceptable from age to age, if you move a little bit over here or you move a little bit over here, you could be licking this, but if you move a little bit over here, you'd be doing something else. all you gotta do, you know what I'm saying, is move over a little bit, move over a little bit to the left, and you're in a different time. You're in a different time zone. I don't know where the fuck I'm going. All right. So speaking of Metallica was honestly the second band. This whole show has been off the rail. I don't know where we went with it, but this is good. It's
Off the crazy train.
Yeah, it's a crazy train. It's a William Savant interview. There's a lot to learn about us all. But Metallica is not one of my favorite bands. But now certainly has come up my ladder, you know, in respect, and like their story is this awesome and rock and roll, and it's great because it pisses people off. Metallica continues to create awesome conversations. They continue to push their career, and I feel like even the mistakes that they make cut little holes and move the blocks around for people like us to learn from. I think they've left a lot of breadcrumbs for bands like us. So, you know, shout out to them. So they released a secret surprise album. Metallica released a secret surprise single. Did you hear it? Put the one in the chat if you guys have heard the new Metallica song.
The snare drum on that album sounds like you're beating a beer keg with an aluminum baseball bat.
It does. It does sound like that. Pang, 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 pang. I mean, it really does. Pang, 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 pang. I'm telling you, this motherfucking shit.
You're making me want to hear it.
It's obnoxious.
And also question why they kept it. Why did they keep it?
And you're gonna be like, "Fuck that snare, Will."
Did they ever like have an interview where they explained why they kept it?
We can go into this after. This can go on because look, I'm about to open up a can of worms because we're gonna go into something else. Now, I'll tell you, I'm gonna play it for you once, and you're gonna be like, "That's really obnoxious, Will." And then I'm gonna play it again. And I'm telling you, by tomorrow you're gonna. And I'm gonna. Then tomorrow, and then I'm gonna say bars. I'm gonna say bars. Bring up 15 snare drums, and let's try to change it. And you're gonna be like, nothing goes. Nothing goes. But this.
Nothing goes.
Nothing goes. But this obnoxious. I'm trying. If you try to change that snare drum to something else.
Did they invent that kind of a snare drum?
It's genius because we're still talking about it.
I hate that snare drum.
Did they invent that kind of a snare
You
drum?
wake up next morning and you hear that snare.
Metallica, because Metallica keeps inventing. That's what you're not. That's what the moral of the story is. They invented this shit. This heavy metal shit. I'm telling you.
I didn't know
when
that.
All the other metal bands in fucking down the street in your own neighborhood won't push their own social media, Metallica's reinventing it. With Stranger Things, Napster, snare drums, they got you all in their fucking bag. The Black Album, everything that they've ever done is one big meme, motherfucker. Metallica is the biggest fucking dude.
They're their name's a meme.
Fucking genius heavy metal band ever known to fucking man. And even if you don't even like their music, you've got to respect the. Yo, come on, man.
They fucked with us.
Yo, they fuck with all of us. Now check it out.
They're genius.
I'm trying to explain something.
Oh my god.
And they're still doing it.
Oh my god.
The headline yesterday upon them dropping this new song, they did no promo on this thing. They just dropped it meme style. You know what I'm saying? And then as soon as they dropped it,
they were ahead of its
time.
They're ahead of this time.
I'm trying to explain something to you.
They're ahead of this time.
As an internet band, as a fan of what, think of the stuff we do. Like, your mind is blown right. I'm trying to show.
I just want to say something.
What?
I'm a huge. I do like Metallica. I am not a fan of.
She's done.
Of the new single.
Why? Why are you not a fan?
How can you not be?
Why is Johnny? First of all, is anybody a fan of the new Metallica single? I am, and I'm gonna tell you, I am because it sounds like Metallica. I'm happy to hear a Metallica song that sounds a lot like Metallica.
He was going to keep banging on that beer keg snare drum until someone called a foul ball.
Right, right. You might have got 2 albums. Right, you might have got 2 albums of that shit. I'm not saying that they should continue to do it.
I wonder if that's how they have to play the song whenever they play it live. They have to
They
like
just
fuck
bring in the busted snare drum. Write that down. 'Cause we're gonna go look up live performances after this. That's awesome.
But that's the only one that goes.
So, so you don't. Why don't you like it?
Honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of James's voice on it.
That's not what I thought you was gonna say, man. I really didn't think you was gonna say that. So when they drop the headline, yes.
It sounded a little.
Pick the microphone up, man.
It sounded a little processy for me.
Okay, can I tell y'all something? The next person that in 2023 that says music sounds processed, I'm gonna tell you to turn off your laptop and your cell phone and your iPods and your Bluetooth. Timestamp. The next person on planet fucking Earth that says that music sounds processed in 2023 should throw away their tablets, their laptops, their digital audio workstations, their plugins. What the fuck do you think? There's a process to everything.
Even on the podcast, I'm sure.
So just before anybody says, that sounds processed, that is the process of 2023 is to process things. That's the way you fucking fans beg to have it. You guys beg to be on the internet all day, right? They told you that the internet was going to be fun. You were going to make friends here and relationships, and you were going to go to the library. Remember? They said, here's the internet, the World Wide fucking web. Did you go worldwide?
No.
Did you go to the library? Nope.
No.
You sent dick pictures. Yep. And cat pictures. And you argued about your fucking skin color. And then you talked about the snare drum on San Anger. You could have went and terraformed the planet, but you didn't. We could have shared cultural ideas. We could have connected globally. We could have ended world hunger. We argued about the Red Sox and the Yankees. We argued about Ozzy versus Dio. Metallica and Stranger Things. Taylor Swift's ticket sales. Motherfuckers won't even go outside the house and they arguing about ticket sales. So the internet was provided for us for education and discovery. People don't discover new music on the internet.
No.
Spotify and streaming DSPs advertise the same thing that big movie streaming sites advertise. All. But people don't go to restaurants and go, let's go to the restaurant, let's go to all. People go, what do you want to eat tonight?
It's normally that one
There's
or
a
two.
variety of plants and animals on the fucking planet that we could eat. And the same goes for culture and people and other and places to discover, man. The issue is that corporations learned about how people behave on the internet. And they learned that people don't want to discover here. The original technology, the internet, was created as a weapon. And also to look at what people are doing. And everybody thinks that this, whatever conspiracies and goofy Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy shit, I don't do that on this program. But I will say this is that one thing is for sure. They do spy on you, but they're not spying on you to bring you to jail. They just want to know what type of smart shopper you are. So what I'm saying is we were given the internet, and we're supposed to it's supposed to be this place of, culture and discovery, and it's supposed to challenge the institution, and we're supposed to have all these intellectual conversations, and it's supposed to bring people together of all shapes and sizes and all this other shit. But we don't. We go on the comment sections, and we argue, and we insult each other, we put each other down, we make fun of the way each other look. You know what I'm saying? We're not willing to honor our women. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, depending on where you move, a little up or a little down, you know what I'm saying? Depending on what you think is fair and what's right in your immediate time and impulse, is how people act on the internet. We have the, you know what I'm saying? Is now, me. And that thing that we were talking about before, attention. Social media started out social, but now they just encourage and advertise media. I mean, let's face it, a selfie is really an invention that is designed for the narcissist that cannot find somebody who's willing to take a fucking picture of them. The selfie is designed for the person that can't convince another human being that it's a good idea to look at them. So they got to do it themselves, because nobody else fucking will. So they design this product around them. They design the product around the ego. They figured out people don't want to be smart shoppers. They just want to be luxurious and comfortable shoppers. As long as it has luxury and as long as it appears to be comfortable, people will buy into it. And shitting on people and arguing and debating and talking slick and being smart on the internet is popular, because you can't get punched in the fucking nose for it. So people are willing to say and act in ways that you never would at the grocery store. But as time goes on, you're seeing them same behaviors start to spill out into the grocery store, where you eat, where you live, and where your kids play. You're starting to see these meme style behaviors, this danger and this frequency coming into life, into real life. And the longer that we play this game, that's exactly what's going to happen, because the internet was created as a weapon, and now it certainly is a place that is not social, but it is a place of media, and we're all encouraged now to make it in short video all day, so companies can compete with each other over ad space and revenue, because advertising runs the internet. Search engines and advertising. And social media can't continue without the power of advertising. And so, that's why us as musicians, that's why we take so much time in understanding, building a pathway and spending our time, purposefully when using these and looking at the internet as a business tool.
Yeah.
While other people, might remain to be clients to the internet, it's important to understand that the internet is a marketplace. It's a flea market. And to understand it as anything else is to assume that you are simply a customer here. You don't have to do that. That's a choice. So yeah, and now Metallica is a massive band. Still. What did you think about the solo? Did you guys like Kirk Hammett's solo?
I thought it was incredible.
I had no problem.
Okay, so when speaking of advertising, when this particular advertisement hit for the new Metallica song, one of the headlines, one of the big perks was like Kirk Hammett's fucking back kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And of course, you have all the meme mags that put up their typical heavy metal bullshit. And, naturally they got this picture of Kirk Hammett crossed out and this YouTube guy, And I watched the YouTube guy. Like, he was pretty good, but it was standard, like, YouTube guitarist stuff. Everything was really dawed out. It was processed. It had gone through the process, as everything is going through the process.
I thought it was cool that the YouTuber took the time out to learn that solo because it looked very like difficult
Can I tell you
and
something?
very like
I didn't
complicated.
find the solos comparable as a guitar player. Like note for note, I didn't find them like comparable at all. I found like the YouTubers guitar player. Anyways, they put out this narrative that maybe Kirk Hammett didn't do a good job on the song. You know what I mean? And that this other YouTube guitar. That's what I got from it. You know, I can only speak for myself. But there was like a picture of Kirk Hammett like and like a red crossed out no sign over him, and then there was like.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that one
Yeah,
bit.
you
It
can't
was
do
tough.
Kurt
It
like
was
that. One that it's Kurt's Metallica. I think it's cool that a kid could kind of get something like. I think it's cool that he could take a drum track and be like, "Hey, look what I can do too," kind of thing. I guess that's cool.
Well, I mean, it's the coolest thing in the world on the internet because, as you know, with Shorts and TikTok, they encourage the remix. They encourage the TikTok. They encourage you to take somebody else's material and remix it or do your own version of it. That's. I mean, you got to understand that 60-second, minute to a minute and a half reels, TikTok style videos and stuff like that. Artists of all shapes and sizes to be seen now. You're encouraged to do something like that, Johnny. You do a bass riff like that tonight, put it up. You might get more views than one of our music videos. That's a reality. So in a time when that's the direction of the internet, do you blame these artists for going out, trying to cover the shit or trying to beat it, trying to top it?
I don't think. I think the only.
If I'm a YouTuber, I can go out there, kick your ass on the guitar, drop $5,000 with Loudwire, and advertise it. How do you feel about that? Hold on. Metallica drops a huge song. I go and fucking shred the shit out of it. I go over to Metal Sucks. I drop $10,000 with them. We make it work.
I think the only thing cool, in my opinion,
Yeah.
would be the fact that he wanted to learn the solo. Him going on and going to these meme mags and those meme mags taking it as like a chance for him
I don't
to
know if they did that.
outshine the master or appear for
Yeah.
him to outshine the master.
Right.
That's the part that I don't think is cool.
Do you think the solo was better than Kirk's?
No.
Why?
You're taking a master of years behind his craft, and you're saying that doesn't matter.
Did you like it better though?
No.
I really love clean, like polished YouTube guitar players, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't like his solo better than Kirk's solo. I thought Kirk's solo was like unleashed, and I thought it was like raw and like risky, unique. I thought it was the opposite of what you would hear on YouTube.
Yes,
I thought
I
it was
agree
the
with that.
opposite of what
Yeah.
these fucking little boys are doing.
I agree with that.
All these little boys playing the guitar, following the rules. That shit's sexy, cool, for about 10 minutes after foreplay. But what happens when the clothes come off? You're gonna want something. You know what I'm saying? You need something to go in there that's unpredictable. And what you know what I'm saying? And I felt like Kurt has something like a fine wine, something that he's built for years and years. That there's a person inside, there's an animal inside that only comes out and during normal times he might not even be trusted here in the regular world. But when Kirk Hammett picks up the guitar and he's ready for a solo on a Metallica track, he trusts that inner enemy. He trusts that monster. He lay down the line. He puts himself at risk because he's a nice, sweet man. He put all that at risk. He put all that sweetness. He put all that humanity at risk. And he let out the devil. He let out the metal. He let out the sex demon. He let out the hunter. And that's what I hear in that solo from Kirk. I don't hear that in that boy. He seemed like a boy playing with his bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying?
Learning how to play
Kirk
it.
Hammett looked like a motherfucking maniac with
I'll
a
say-
tomahawk. You know what I'm saying? Hacking up shit. I
don't
I
get-
have to listen to it again type shit. It just feels like that. There's something uninhibited and unleashed. It's like there's no collar on that motherfucker. And you know what? Some of it doesn't make sense, and it's not. Everything today in today's world is so perfect and so processed, and so it was to me it was the way to go for Metallica, for
probably why you
the
did it.
Napster band, for the Black Album band,
That's
for the predictable band that everybody thinks that, you know what I mean? For them to go, oh, go fuck yourself.
That's exactly why you did it.
Ugh, there's nothing more metal than that. Metallica game. I can't even go on about this no more. Am I a fan? I am now. I can't say the track is crazy, but I honestly, that's how I felt about that solo. I felt like that boy came out. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he came out with some fucking high heels on, and I feel like Kirk Hammett had his cleats on.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with some high heels, but you dainty trying to get across the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? I felt like Kirk Hammett was in the field with that guitar solo. You know what I mean? It's different. You know, some of the notes weren't perfect, but that, you know, I'm also a fan of not being perfect, because I'm a fan of people, man. Like, if you're a fan of people, then you're a fan of real metal. And if you're a fan of people and metal, you can't be perfection what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know there's a lot of perfect metal out there and perfect music out there, and that's cool for that. You know what I mean? But, like, because there's a place for perfect music now, there's got to be a place, you know, for sudden, for sudden impulse.
Instinct.
Yeah.
His instinct.
Yeah.
Was in there.
I feel like that boy
musicianship.
sat down with a calculator and wrote that out. You know what I mean?
He's
And
super
that's
good at
nice.
it.
And that's impressive. But I feel like, you know, I always have a saying, when you're trying to be cool, it ain't cool. I feel like him trying to outdo somebody, you know what I'm saying? If that's the narrative from the image. I mean, you know, images can be powerful, especially on the interweb.
One thing I don't get
Yes.
is why these younger kids or someone
John, you're young.
or someone that's supposed to be an upcoming
I mean, I don't know who that person is. I'm not going to say
star or
anything bad
whatever.
about them.
Why are they taking jabs at
I don't think they're doing that, man. I mean, can I be real with you? I don't think that's what they're doing. I think that it's easy to look at an article online and look at the imagery behind it and look at the cover photo, and I think it's easy to get excited about that. But I don't know for sure if that's what his intention is. You know?
not him specifically.
Somebody put him in a picture.
Not him specifically. It was more
They said some kid covered the solo, and then they had a pic, and then Metal Injection or one of these fucking nerds.
but to do Kurt like that?
I guess that's how they doing them. And numbers don't lie, John, right? Or do they?
And
Listen,
that-
we're living in a world now where in order to do big business with big music business, you got to have big numbers. Okay? And in order to have big numbers and dealing with big business, all bands have to relinquish big numbers. So in an industry where big companies won't take you serious unless you manipulate your life to prove that you have big numbers, then you're not going to be doing business with these folks. And as you know, rock and roll fucking wannabes are online each and every day, dreamy as ever, praying to God to be worshipped, having a tough time admitting that they're online for attention to begin with. Look, I never met a 4-year-old kid. I never met a chef. I never met an 8-year-old that drew a picture of the fucking sun and went to go show it to somebody and didn't hope in his heart that they liked that picture or thought it was beautiful. I ain't never seen a woman fix her hair and hope that she didn't come out looking right to somebody else. I have never seen a restaurant where the chef comes out and brings you a beautiful entree with attractive plating and go, man, I hope you fucking choke on this shit and hate it. I ain't never seen that. I ain't never seen nobody, a confectionist, a baker, put together, a beautiful cake with all the decorations and trimmings and put it on a platter and hope that everybody looks at it and goes, oh, that looks like shit.
Never.
I ain't never seen a professional do it, and I ain't never seen a 2-year-old kid draw a fucking circle and show it to his mother and go, I don't care if she likes it or not. Bitch, take it.
No.
That means, but a fucking grown man, a woman, is sitting on the other side of that camera in a band somewhere and tell you that they're not online, that they're online for another reason than to get attention. And you hear rappers, rockers, singers, I don't care when anybody likes my music or not. Well, maybe that's your fucking problem. I don't care if people like me or not. I know that's real rock and roll. But you know who you care about? Those motherfucking people on them posters on your wall that you got to do that buy on, following them all around the country, begging for their attention, begging for their approval. I ain't never begged nobody for my approval. There's no amount of money in the fucking world that you will ever see William Savant sit on my knees and beg anybody in rock and roll for my approval. I don't give a fuck about rock and roll. That's to be understood as a human being. If that's the kind of rock and roll that's available to me, if that's the kind of rock and roll that's available to Sepsiss, I don't fucking want it. You know what I mean?
We were talking about this a little bit last week when we were talking about like tours and festivals and how most of them, in order, there's some requirements, and one would be for them to manipulate their numbers.
Well, I mean, it's like
not all of them. But
no, I'm sure, and as I've said in the past, if that is in tandem. If that's written into your career arc, you know what I mean? If that's written into your story, look, I've said it a million times. If you're the type of fortunate person, and then you have the ability to, just buy products, and go on a shopping spree, go on a rock and roll shopping spree, then absolutely. God, the experience it's like going to Disneyland. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You could put on, You could put on your rock and roll shoes and your rock and roll hat and get your rock and roll auto tune out and get your rock and roll laptop. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people doing that, and that's a wonderful thing. I wouldn't want to deny anybody from living the life that they want to live as a human being. When we sit here and talk about this shit, you know what I mean? It's like sports. As far as another human being and the quality of their life, I can't look down at another person for doing
Absolutely
it.
not.
If you want to go play for Kiss, I'm not going to get mad at you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got to do what they got to do. You know what I mean?
If you want to work with them, that's what they get. If you don't want to, you can do something
so
completely different.
It just happens to be, and I'm always clearing that up, it just happens to be a feature of Sepsiss. That's what makes us rock and roll, is not giving a fuck. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes up. That's what there has to be bands out there. So there's a lot of bands out there that might do buy-ons. There's a lot of bands out there that might do backtracks. There's a lot of bands out there that may have these behaviors, and that may people have said that to me before. When we opened up for Dave Ellefson, somebody's like, "Oh man, that's one of the biggest." Buddy of mine was like, "I'd do anything to be able to do that," and I said, "Really?" You know, we opened up for Puddle of Mud that one time or whatever it was, and you know, we got signed to the record deal and everything, and people go, "Oh man, that's amazing, Will." I said, "No, the fuck it isn't." What's amazing about that? What's amazing? What's amazing about? No, but I'm saying though, like you read the stories about these fucking guys. I don't have to tell you anything about them. They're not me and you. They're not sitting down having coffee with you, man. These people don't fucking. It's not like, you know, I can't speak for them, but I mean, think about it. Like when we've the biggest bands that we've opened up for, have they played better than other bands we play for?
No.
Do they play better guitar?
No.
Then I'm not doing that. The most of the nationals at the level that we are sold to, those bands ain't packing rooms. Fuck them. Fuck those bands, because they're not packing rooms. I'd rather play with locals and regionals, because we locals and regionals, you know what I'm saying, have the sense to bring 10, 20 people.
Make sure to get a draw.
I'd rather pack a room 200 people than fuck around with some national that can't bring fucking lunch money. Just saying. That concludes our night's program. We don't really have anything else, guys. We're going to be back next Wednesday to talk about the live stream. Hopefully we can find JP.
JP, come back.
Yo, we'll be back next Wednesday.
Thank you guys for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging